Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the next in our series of Quran verses that have inspired people. This is a project for the Public Quran Campaign, which our next guest is Leila Aboulela. She was born in Cairo and grew up in Khartoum and moved in her mid-20s to Aberdeen. She is the author of 5 novels, Bird Summons, The Translator, a New York Times 100 Notable Books of the Year, The Kindness of Enemies, Minaret and Lyrics Alley, fiction writer of the Scottish Book Awards. Leila's fiction has received critical recognition and a high profile for its distinctive exploration of identity, migration, and Islamic spirituality. She was the first winner of the Caine Prize for African Writing, and her latest story collection, Elsewhere, Home, won the Saltire Fiction Book of the Year award. Leila's work has been translated into 15 languages, and several of her plays were broadcast on BBC Radio. Leila is honorary president of the SSSUK, the Society for the Study of the Sudans UK, and a fellow of the Royal Society of Arts. Welcome, Leila Aboulela.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So as we know, this format of this is fairly simple. We just ask people to come on and say about some verses that they have had a particular impact on them or inspired them in particular ways in their lives. And we just give the floor to you to describe those verses and how they've had an impact on you. So take it away.
Okay, well, I've chosen to speak about the verse in Surah Al-Rum. ومن آياته أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يتفكرون. And the translation is, another of his signs is that he created for you from among yourselves spouses, that you might find rest in them, and he ordained between you affection and mercy. Surely in that there are signs for those who reflect. And I love this verse, this ayah, since I was very young, since I was a teenager, because I was very romantically inclined as a teenager, and I was always reading romantic novels. And this verse in the Quran made me aspire to having a happy marriage. And so I was always praying that one day I would have a happy marriage. And I was surrounded by lots of couples who had difficult marriages. And so this verse in the Quran made me feel that it was possible to have a happy marriage, that it was something that can take place. And so, alhamdulillah, my prayers were, answered by the generosity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I did have a happy marriage, and I've been married now for 35 years.
MashaAllah.
Thank you. Also, this verse is very beautiful because it has so many beautiful images in it, like tranquility and rest, and the idea of the couple finding a sense of home in each other, and also the affection between them, the love between them, the kindness between them, the mercy between them. So of course the Arabic words are very, Arabic is a lovely and rich language, and these words have so many depth of meaning, and somehow, of course, when we translate these words into English, we lose some of the depth. But these are all the words that are conveyed this sense of that these that this couple are that Allah has brought them together, and that He created this mercy between them. And then also the verse starts with a very momentous word, which is that this is from His signs, from Allah's signs that this has happened. And usually in conservative Muslim cultures, and I grew up in Sudan, in a very conservative culture, so love is usually regarded as something that is, suspicious, is associated with sin and a lot of, bad things. or it's considered trivial, you know, and there's a trivialization of romance and a trivialization of love as being something that is not important in life. But this verse actually tells us that it is important, that it is one of the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How did these two people who could maybe have been grew up in different parts of the world, who didn't even know each other, how is it that they have been brought together, and this kindness comes between them, and this willingness to sacrifice for each other, the willingness to you know, to give to each other, and that is something amazing that we should be looking at with a kind of wonder and surprise. And the verse also asks us to reflect on that, and it says this is a sign for those who reflect. So it is something that we should you know, we should reflect about. We should you know, wonder. We should wonder at. We shouldn't take it for granted. We should, you know, see it with a sense of wonder. There's something else I wanted to say, but I forgot.
That's very nice. Yes. There's so the phrase it ends with is what, for those who reflect. What's the word? How does it go in Arabic?
Yeah, for those. This is surely in that there are signs for those who reflect.
Yes, and the word for reflect is what in Arabic?
يتفكرون.
يتفكرون. It's an because grammatically it's from fakara is to think, but it's an emphatic form. So it's to really think in depth, you know. And there's a, I remember Muhammad Asad in his translation used as a kind of a phrase at the bottom of on the front page is بِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ, people who really think. And this verse that, you know, had a big impact on him, and it's interesting that this comes up here as a verse, or at least part of the verses that you wanted to.
Yeah, there's lots of verses in the Quran which end with this, you know, إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Yeah, yes. But it's for me that the combination of the thinking and the consideration with this idea of romance and marriage is something that maybe normal people don't really put the two things together, and so I think that is asks for us to kind of think about it and to wonder at it. Yeah.
Yes, it's so it's quite a nice selection of a verse for people to think of. Did you have another one in mind, or is this the one you had thought of in particular, the one that really stood out?
This is the one that has stood out for me in choosing one that.
Okay, that's fine. I don't need to have more than one. I can edit out the sort of questions around that, but that's fine. Okay. Just think if there's anything else that I wanted. There's something you were saying that I wanted to pick up on.
Yeah. Also, I was reading some of the tafsirs about this ayah, and it stressed this idea that these two people didn't that they were strangers to each other at one point. So they weren't like, they don't belong in the same family. They didn't, you know, grow up together. They don't have the blood tie that comes from, you know, a parent or a sister or a brother or something like that. So that is this is part of the miraculousness of it, that you know, that they are starting, I suppose, a new family, that they're starting a new you know, life together.
So there was one point. Yes, I remember the point I wanted to pick up on now. So you mentioned in that as you were growing up, that you felt that the idea of love and romance and these kinds of things were kind of, I don't know what the word you used, but essentially they were either irrelevant or they were kind of hidden, and it wasn't really part of the culture, and it was treated as
taboo.
Taboo, yes. I think
almost. Yeah.
It's like it's part of what happens in private, so we don't talk about it in public, kind of thing. And yet the Quran speaks about it very publicly, and the Quran is a public declaration. So you know, there is this kind of disconnect sometimes between a culture and the sort of message of the Quran, in terms of the emphasis of the Quran in certain areas, which we tend to not emphasize as we teach about how the culture should be, as we promote certain values within the culture. And so it's quite an interesting point, because I think a lot of people have this kind of, how supposedly Islamic culture, sometimes they go to the Quran and say, well, why don't you do this?
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any reflections on I mean, is that something you've found in other areas, or just this particular area struck you as particularly?
Well, of course, as a girl growing up in a conservative society, you know, all these kind of constraints shape very much how you live. And so in a way, even though I was growing up in the 70s and in the 80s, my day-to-day life resembled a Jane Austen novel, which is not a terrible thing. It's not a bad thing, but it's yeah, I mean, it's nice in many ways, but this was the kind of setup, and it was actually even more conservative in that, you know, men and women didn't really get together, and I think that is the case in many conservative societies. And then again, having the Western upbringing, which trivializes love. I mean, we always talk of a rom-com. We talk about, you know, of associating romance with comedy, and people go through life trivializing relationships, and you know, it's something to laugh at, it's something to mock, whereas actually it's a very serious thing, which then the Quran asks us to regard with a kind of more gravity than a permissive society would. So both cases, even a very conservative Muslim society and even a kind of a very open Western society, they both are different than what the verse tells us to do, which is to take these relationships with kind of a seriousness, and to think of them as a wonder, in a way that we wonder about the creation of the stars or the creation of the earth, or you know, one of the signs that Allah has made the earth. Because I grew up in Sudan, where we didn't have any seasons, for example, coming here to the UK, I see the way the leaves fall off the trees in winter, and then they grow again in spring, and that to me is a wonder. It always makes me think, oh, this is life coming after death. This is, you know, we're able to see this wonderful change in the seasons, and a lot of people, even atheists, are very deeply moved by nature, and they do feel a sense of wonder in nature, and in you know, in the first you know, blossoming of spring. And this verse also comes after many other verses which talk about the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creation, the heavens and the earth, the wind, the different people's different languages, and so seeing it in this context is seeing this idea of relationships, and as a wonder is a new thing, I think, for me. Yeah,
it's quite interesting, because I think that the whole idea of signs generally is about having the sort of humility of saying there is stuff that I don't know, and that I should be humble in my understanding of the world, and not presume because I think I'm right that, you know, I am. There's so much we have to learn, and it's a kind of, it always brings me back to this surah in Al-Baqarah, where it contrasts the beginning of the believers are, first of all, those who believe in the al-ghaib, the unseen, and it contrasts this to the disbelievers, who even they close their eyes, and you know, their hearts are closed and their eyes are closed and their hearing is shut, because they simply refuse to look. So there's this is the scale in which we are. And so when we have this kind of look at the world with a sort of amazed and kind of open to discovery attitude is a very healthy attitude to take. And it's sometimes drummed out of us with education, saying this is what you need to learn, and this is what you have to understand, and this is what you need to do. And culture is sometimes does not encourage that sense of kind of wonderment, if you like, in everything around us. We just accept, oh, grass is green. We don't ask why, it is. And this is where tafakkarun, is someone who really thinks, well, why is it that way, and why? Let me go and study it. And this Quran really encouraging science and deep contemplation and study of the world, which is very important verse. Okay, well, thank you very much. It's been a joy. I hope we meet together another time. I don't know how often I'll get up to Aberdeen. I don't suppose very often. I don't know what you travel around a bit, I guess. So hopefully we'll meet up.
Yes. Okay.
Visit, grace us with your presence at some point in Manchester.
Yes, and send me the video then when you're done, after you edit it and all that. So.
Yes, I will do, and hopefully I won't have to edit too much out. But it's we'll have to see. We want to try fairly short, but we will do what we can. Thank you again.
Welcome.
Jazakallah khair.
Allah khalik. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.